What's going on, everybody? This is 40B Nasty. I'm here to show you an update with my 5-gallon Marineland tank. I have a nice big piece of substrate in here, which is a bonsai tree. This is going to hold some beneficial bacteria as the flow pushes off of this, and this is going to help break down my ammonia nitrites as well. I do have a big block of Marine Pure in the back, and that's also going to help with breaking down the ammonia to nitrites to nitrates. And that's where all my beneficial bacteria is on this substrate. So get yourself a great biological system. This is what's going to take care of your fish tank in the long run. I have not even done a water change on this thing, and it's been like 2 months, and everything is still at zero because all my beneficial bacteria has been absolutely holding strong in here. So I ended up putting more life in here because I know my tank can handle it. And the one thing you want to do before you start doing a tank is cycle it. You want to get that ammonia up, you want to get the nitrites up, you want to get that nitrates up, get them all spiked up, and then the ammonia comes back down, the nitrites come back down, and then the only way to get rid of nitrates is to actually do a big water change. You do that, boom, you can start adding fish right after that. But don't add a ton of them. Always do it slowly, because you don't want to shock the bioload that you're putting into the system, and then you have a massive ammonia spike, and then you kill your fish. So that's a bad thing to do. But in here I have a Pea Puffer right now, and she's been in there since day one. Once that nitrates and the ammonia had dropped, I did a water change. Nitrates were at zero. I was like, you're going in. And sure enough, here she is. She's in there. She's been in there the whole time. Healthy as heck. She's eating bloodworms every day. She did like the blackworms, but she's kind of a little finicky, but she's still alive. She's taking care of herself. I don't know if she's picking it up off the bottom when I'm not looking, but I did end up adding more life because I know my tank can handle more life. So what I did was I added these 3 little Pygmy Corys. Now they're schooling fish, and I'm actually really surprised that my Pea Puffer was not bothered by them. If not, she actually kind of hangs around with them. So these little guys can handle 6.5 to 7.5 for a pH. They can handle some hot water. I prefer to use 0 TDS, which is not good for all freshwater fish, but for these guys, they can handle it. My Pea Puffer is enjoying it, and they also are omnivores, these pygmies. That's a big thing to know, because they are not going to go looking for your algae on the tank. That's what I get this Nerite snail for. If you notice up here, see on the glass, you can see all these little spirals back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right here. All that. That's the trunk of the snail going back and forth, eating the film and the algae, that's whatever's on the glass. So I'm just kind of leaving that alone. I'm leaving that one snail to enjoy this whole tank for themselves. I did buy some ram's horns. I bought 2 of them. Puffer already took care of one of them, so that's not a good idea for me to keep them. As far as the trumpet snail, it's a Malaysian trumpet snail that I put in there. I did not know that one of those things can actually reproduce by itself, and it can also reproduce up to 70 eggs. And these things can be not too much of a terror to a tank. The thing I would worry about is die-off in my tank. If I ended up getting 70 of those in this little small 5-gallon tank, I would want to worry about die-off. Because if I'm not feeding them, which they do need to be fed, and these things will cruise around in your sand or your substrate, and that could actually, one day, just all of a sudden, boom, I have 70 of these things crawling around. And if I can't keep them fed, and actually they're going to keep reproducing, so that's a bad thing. I'm going to end up having a huge ammonia spike if I get die-off, which I most likely would, because I'm not feeding them, I'm feeding the fish, and the fish seem to enjoy the food that they're eating, and that's mainly bloodworms, and that's like seems to be one of their main diets. You can see there's a couple extra chunky ones in here. Like, see that little piece right there? They haven't touched that. See, the thing with these omnivores, even though they're tiny, the pygmies, they need to eat food that the size that their mouth can fit. Now remember, they don't eat algae, so don't try to think that they're going to survive off of the algae on your tank. They are cats, but they're not made for that kind of style. So keep that in mind when you're ever trying to have a nice little shoal of these things. As you can see, they kind of don't mind the puffer. They're very peaceful fish. I'm like almost too peaceful. And thank God, because right now, my little pea puffer has just been enjoying the tank the whole time. And I don't want to upset the balance. And that's what you want to have in your tank, is a nice friendly balance. Especially with as much life as you can exceed it in. Because that's what we all like to have. We don't like to just see one fish in a tank and go, okay, this is it. And then that's the end of it. We always like to add and like push the limits. Don't push the limits too far. Know what your tank can handle. That's what I'm saying. Cycle your tank. Get a nice biological media in there that can handle anything that you throw at it. And that's what I've done. And this tank will survive and go on for years and have life. Look at how they hang out together. That's what's really cool about these schooling fish. You can get like 8 of them. And that's what's best. That's what was actually recommended. But I'm going to say I got 3 of them. They were the ones that were left in the tank, and I took them home, and they seem to be enjoying their time in here so far. Hopefully it continues. My pea puffer stays sane and doesn't go AWOL on them and take them all out. But as of right now, it's kind of cute to watch them all. Check that out. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. This is 40B Nasty out. Take care.